I am back tonight with a guest that you are going to all recognize, and it's been far, 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 far too long. Janine Steffans from People Will Know You from Turn the Page with Janine. It's been so long, hasn't it? We've been meaning to do this for ages. How are you doing, Janine, first and foremost?
Yeah, it does seem like a very long time, and thank you so much for inviting me onto your channel. Well, I tell you, when this all kind of kicked off, all of us were visiting each other's channels, and we were just rotating to the point that I think that we all kind of grew with the energies of whatever may have been going on externally is growing with us internally. So with that, I can say that my channel obviously isn't what it was when I first started out. And I've been doing a lot more teaching, working more understanding to teach people that we are more than we are energy. There's so much more to that. And once they actually grasp that concept, they can raise their level of consciousness, right?
Oh, too right. I mean, that's so close to my heart because long before I even thought about being on YouTube, I've been working in holistic health for years with humans and animals. And it's so, so important to really focus now more than ever, I think, really on what we're capable of those daily decisions that can make all the difference. And also tools and techniques that can make it easier for ourselves, whether that's a physical product, whether that's a breathing technique, whether it's a cold shower, whether it's a meditation, whatever it might be. And I think, all of us are so ready for this because there's one thing we've known that is all our potential has been deliberately hidden from us. And that's so exciting when you realize just, wow, what is to come.
Yeah. Yeah, and so if I were to do a reflection in the past, it was almost like we were learning about lessons of life, right? And what was truth and our own belief systems. And then I kind of thought there was a period of time we were all going through a mourning, right? And then we were mourning what was actually, just trying to understand it all. It's no different from like when you go through the loss of a life or a loved one, you go through the same processes, and that's what we're going through, the same process. And I have from the beginning always used the term self-empowerment, but I never really got into depth with it. And I kind of felt like I was being pushed a little bit more to understanding the death of where we were, but the rebirth of where we're going. And that is with everything that we are connected to, right? It's nature, it's the animals. This is a time that, like you said, all of us kind of we're in the matrix mind, and now we're no longer in the matrix mind, and now we have to move forward and speak our truth, but live our truth, right?
Yeah, and I think, we all know the only consistent thing is change, and love and loss is part of the, not just the human experience, but the experience of any plant or animal on the planet. I mean, I've just before we came on to record, Janine, I had a very sad couple of weeks because I had 3 guinea pigs and now I'm down to one
Oh
because two
no.
of them died within a couple of weeks of each other, and they were sisters, and I've no idea how old they were because we've had them for quite a few years, but I didn't know how old they were when we got them. And it seems just old age that they've died of. But I've just literally been approved to adopt 2 other elderly girls to keep my Dylan. And I'm smiling about it now. It's been really, really hard, using a loved one, whether it's a guinea pig or a human. It doesn't get any easier, however many times you go through it. But for me, the way I go through it is not to not grieve for the one that's gone, although I'm very happy I could give them a lovely life. But also now I've got the setup where I can pour that love into something else, some other guinea pig or other animal, whatever it might be, that desperately needs a home and that love. And in terms of what's been going on the bigger picture, and all our listeners and ourselves, this journey we've been on, I say for the last 3 years, but most of us have been on it a lot longer than that. It's just been more obvious the last 3 years. This is the cycle of it, isn't it? There's so many people that we see in the comments, we've been through that. It is like a grief cycle, as you say, of letting go of what's no longer there, but very much looking at, okay, where can I direct my love, my energy? Where do I want to go with moving forward? Oh, you're muted, Janine.
Oh, sorry about that. Some of the classes I mute myself because I have dogs walking around and the house echoes because we've got the whole house packed up. So Yes, the energies of teaching self-empowerment comes from, at a deeper level, if you will, of taking a look at what no longer serves us. And that goes from certain patterns that are belief patterns, right? It starts with that. And I think that we were all tested on that to whether or not to believe the information we were hearing 2 or 3 years ago to the current time of the information. And we always said use discernment. It's easy to throw out various words and you hear it repeated over and over again. But if you really take a look at what is our own self-empowerment, it's something different for everybody. But you could always look outside of nature and ask for help. You can, I read the Akashic Records now. I teach the Akashic Record classes. And that's the whole thing, that when you're working with whomever it is, the masters, the teachers, our loved ones, we're always asking, help me, show me, guide me, because they are so happy to hear those words. Nature, Mother Nature does, the animals, as you know, we could learn just by watching them. Everything is a mere reflection of who we are. I truly believe that.
Yeah, there's so much connection out there. And as you say, the beauty is there is so much help if you ask for it. And I think that can be something as humans we can struggle with. My dogs have just been playing outside just before we came on, and Lola's hurt one of her back leg. I don't know what she's done. She's gone mad and hurt her back leg. And she comes up to me with her paw up, and you can literally see her saying, help me, mummy,
Yeah.
And we have got so much. You and I really share that passion about learning from our animals. And really, because it's so beautiful when you actually switch off the noise that comes from the human environment, from all the subliminal programming that we're subjected to every minute of every day. And then you go back out and connect with nature and you really see what's real. And you see that universal language that all species can communicate with each other. And I think you made it really, really important point there, Janine. We all throw out these terms like use discernment, use your intuition, go within. But if it was that easy, none of us would be in this mess. That in itself is a huge journey for everyone, because you can use discernment and still get your fingers burnt, still get it wrong. And we all have along this journey, and I'm sure we still will, because there is the stage I think that you get to where you think, right, I've got it now, I'm all sorted. That at that stage probably when we exit this human plane.
Yeah, and just early this morning, I have a niece. She's an adult now, and she made a comment that she can't always. She's in a relationship, a really good relationship, but there's things that she's struggling with being able to say what sometimes she doesn't know why she's feeling the way that she's feeling when things come up, or to say things that you want to say, because we've all been taught to be very nice and very kind and polite when we're little. But then when we grow up as an adult, we still carry that inner child with us, right? And that inner child is the one that sometimes we can't find a way to speak our truth. But once you actually start practicing, and everything comes with practice, right? Everything is practice and a process. And if anyone thinks that there's a quick fix out there, they don't really understand what defining their spirituality, being whole, mind, body, and spirit is. There is just actually so much to it. I'm going to be teaching a chakra class also, because believe it or not, Catherine, me and you probably went back years, started out with the chakras to learn what it is. There's the Western and then there's the Eastern energy vortexes within us. A lot of people may have skipped it or forgotten it. I'm going back to the basics and tying it to, various levels of our, how do I put this, of energy. And it can get it can get so complicated, if you will, but we have to start somewhere with understanding we are energy. And if people say, well, I still can't get past it, I'm in this body, and so I'm still going to think the way that I do in the matrix when it's convenient for me, well, that's not going to serve you anymore. If you want to raise your level, your vibration, everybody hears the other words, high fives, high vibrations, frequencies, all that other stuff. What exactly does that mean? And so we really got to take a look at it and truly understand it. It's nice to say it, but it's also a knowledge, knowing what that actually means and how to raise our vibration with our thoughts, everything across the board. Our thoughts, paying attention to nature, calling on our animal tokens, talking to our loved ones, or just being able to build relationships with our masters, our teachers, and our loved ones, and our living people. that's how brilliant that we are, and we should never take anything for granted, of how we are walking computers, if you want to look at it that way. There's so much to us, that if I were to say pick one area of your life that you want to work on, and that's where you can start with it. And then also understanding all the other aspects of it, of us being energy, and how does that tie into, um, mind, body, and spirit, and how do our thoughts affect us? What are the programs that we were given? What is it time to release some of those old patterns that don't serve us anymore? And I think that people right now, if I were to say 3 or 4 years later, they're starting to realize what doesn't work for them is now really coming to the forefront, and they have to release it. And it may seem like it's painful, but let me tell you, when you're working with spirit, they take away all that pain from us. They just want us to ask for guidance, to
I
help us.
love it. There's so many important nuggets in there I want to go back to. I mean, it's like Joe Dispenza always says, now it's not enough time just to know, you've got to embody it, you've got to do it. And what I love about, I've been really fascinated with literally tying in a lot of this ancient wisdom. And when you look at, doesn't matter what system of ancient wisdom you study, the principles are so the same. And Shanti from Aquarius Rising Africa and we did a series a few months back on solutions with Aquarius Rising on the animal chakras. And it was just a quick, couple of things, but I really want to go back into that in more detail, because sometimes looking at it from the animal and the human perspectives will hit different things for different people. And it's so beautiful when you look at the linkages between everything, when you look at the linkage between the energy, the physical health, the emotional health, the spiritual health. What you're manifesting in your life, is a very clear indication of where your subconscious beliefs, if you're struggling in some area, as Bruce Lipton says, it's a real indication of where your subconscious programming is in conflict with what you're looking to manifest. So the beauty of this is there's so much out there for people, and there's so many different places that you can start. I'm doing a bit of a quote in this one, I don't know why, but like Louise Hay says, if you've got to spring clean your house, you've got to get around every room in your house, but different people will start in different rooms, and that's fine. And this is what I love about this, is this getting people to really go back to exploring themselves, their ability. As Bryce always says, we're the White House, we're the ones that here of the White Hats, we're the ones here to save us. And I really do think people are really realizing that now. Yes, of course, in this physical body that we're now, we'll all have different rules. It's like a football team. You've got goalkeepers, you've got attackers, you've got defenders, you've got midfielders, you've got wingers. So we're all playing different roles and are comfortable, so we don't all need to be the leaders out the front. But actually, regardless of what the role it is, the more we understand ourselves, the better we can contribute to the bigger picture and the overall energy collective.
Right. And I truly believe if the people want to start at the physical body, because it's more an easy way to grasp it, and then you take it to the next level, is take a look at your health issues, right? So there's a chakra in the human body for every organ that it is actually tied to. And studying Chinese medicine, that's where I learned a lot. I was amazed. I love Chinese medicine, understanding a yin and yang, ascending and descending. And they talk about same as above as below. That's with our body too. You have to take a look at what's going on at the head. Is there something else below in another chakra that's going on? And there's emotions that are tied to the organs, to the chakras. It's all interwoven, if you will. And that, to me, when people talk about science, that's our science. That, when it just amazes me how they put so much faith in this. Says science says this. Well, science still doesn't even know what that bad flu was, because I know we're on YouTube, but they can't define it. They can't tell you where it is. They're limited. But I can tell you so much about your body energetically. I studied a lot under Carolyn Mace when I was younger, so I went through all of her programs, and probably for a good 5 years, if you will, trying to understand how our energy and how it's connected to our chakras and our emotions and our feelings. And then you go in and do what they call a self-examination, right? And so that is also journaling, writing things out. And that's what the Akashics are, writing things out. It's all about intention. And they being whoever it might be, I don't put a label on it, because all I know that is that when I am working with different energies, I'm in the light, and I know that the masters or someone who's never been incarnated. The teachers may have been incarnated, but they're with me when I need them. They're not always there. Our loved ones were incarnated, and they may have taken a role to help us. We have so much that walk with us on a daily basis, and yet we're blinded to it. We're blinded to so much information out there. And that's what they talk about, waking up. That's where we need to wake up and understand who we truly are. When they call it the reawakening, is also finding, am I part of God, or whatever it is that you want to believe that creator or source is. And then really integrating all of that in to understand who you are. And that is almost becoming, like I say to people, it's almost like becoming a Buddha. You go within, and there's nothing outside of you that's going to give you the answer. It's all within yourself for you to find out. And then that's when the shifting begins for us. And that's when our level of consciousness rises. And that's when I always tell people that we get to a certain point. People say, I want to go from 3D to 5D without doing any work. Well, you have to be able to go inward and see things. And then once you go inward and see things, you can actually see what's happening on the outside. It's kind of like you've put on your x-ray glasses, and your intuition comes into play, and you trust your intuition. If you get a gut punch, you know not to trust whatever it is. That is really your insight. Your insight of believing yourself, trusting yourself. And that's where it comes into. Anything outside of you, you have no control over, but you have control over yourself.
Yeah, absolutely lovely. It's so fascinating. This is what I love about these connections in the journey, because so much of the studying that you've been doing for the last 30 years is the same as me. I mean, I don't know if you know, but I'm an iridologist, but I do iridology with animals. So looking at the iris of the eye, which is a map of the body. And it's like the doctrine of signatures, where you look at, the fruits and the herbs and everything, and herbal medicine. Everything is linked. And there's so many openings there for people. Whoever's watching this, I think, most people are very into the same things that we are, but there's so many different ways that you can open in and introduce yourself to this, or take yourself up to the next level of understanding. But it's such a beautiful journey to be on, because it's very much do no harm. And it is so key that when we understand ourselves more, we're so much less programmable. We're so much less susceptible to any outside threats that are thrown on us, because we have tools in our toolkits to work with those, which then takes a level of anxiety down, which then shifts the energy we're putting out to an outside world. So it's this beautiful upward cycle of, moving forward in a positive direction, rather than them being constantly pulled back down. And when you do have those challenges hit you, you have so many things in your toolbox that you can reach to actually help cope with them. I mean, in terms of, you're going through a big move, and we've all evolved a lot. It's lovely looking back at how we all started when we went on YouTube and where we're all now. And I think we can see I hope we can, the viewers will tell us whether they can, such an evolution in our journey. I mean, in terms of sort of what you're seeing reflected in your outer world, what you're experiencing, how would you link those in, Janine?
So if I'm understanding what you're asking, anything that I've been seeing lately and how it's reflection of my life, well, I basically know that I went through a lot of shifts. One day I was dark hair, then I was blonde hair, then I was trying to go to the gray look. I mean, I knew that there was something that I was changing, and that was on the physical side, that was external stuff. And I kind of look back at some of those older videos. I go, what was I thinking? What was I trying to do here? I was trying to go natural to bring that in, but it really wasn't working for me too much. But then I took a look at other things. I live currently in a beautiful state. I live right on a lake. There's nothing but nature. I could see every morning 10 deer outside of me, all kinds of natural things in life, a ton of trees all the way around me. But I felt like I needed to get connected back into a community again. And this was just I really thought that, because I came from Chicagoland area, which was massive amount of people. to feeling like my energy was totally stifled, very and dense, to coming out here, finding my spirituality, truly finding my spirituality, finding who I am, having it expand and grow. I got to the point and said, all right, I'm at this point in my life. Maybe I want to get involved more with either older people or children, or get back into a community. I don't have that here. It is great. Most people think of this more as like a resort area if you want to come for the summer. And I just started to feel like I needed to get back into humanity after the shutdown and everything else. So that's why we decided to move, and everything about that it has worked out. My husband can retire now. I'll be semi-retired. I'll be closer down to a lot of other truthers down in the Florida area. And it just felt like this. It's so funny because it feels like I'm coming back to life again. I don't know how to explain that, but I've been almost like a monk, if you will, in my little world, to find myself, find my teachings again. And now I'm at that point where I'm like, okay, let's take it out to maybe where there are actual people. I don't have to be behind a camera. Maybe I can find a venue where I could do this and just really come into what I wanted to come into 30 years ago, but I was still had too much stuff to work on. Now that I feel like I'm in a very good place, my vibration is completely different. And I think everything that I've learned, I feel that I call it my intuition or my radar is really well, that I can tell when somebody's bullshitting me or they've got a private agenda or what have you. I don't judge that. I just look at it and bless them and then move on. And that's what we're here to learn with everything right now. And because we're still going to have a lot of people in the matrix, and they're going to be stepping out of the matrix. A lot of people are trying to get to the 5D. It's great that they listen to a lot of people about the 5D, but you got to still do the work. And when people come to me for classes, I give them homework. I'm just laying the foundation for them. And now I leave it up to them to put it into their hands to see how far they want to take it.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely it. I mean, you can guide, we can all guide, and we've all got our own guides and all sorts of different forms. But at the end of the day, as individuals, we have to take it and run with it and see what it means for us. It's like I know both you and I are really into the shamanic animal guides and the meanings for those, and it's beautiful. And you can have some generic things that point you in the right direction, but what I love about shamanism is it's never there is one answer. It's what does it mean to you? So a lot of people might have negative connotations about foxes. I don't have any negative connotations about foxes. I absolutely love them, but it's not a right or wrong thing. It's what does it mean for you? What's the lesson? What's the message? What's the protection that you need as an individual? And not only can that change at different times in your own life, but it would be very different between individuals. And the clue's almost in the name, isn't it, Janine? Individual. That's the whole point. We're not all meant to be the same. We're not all here to learn the same lessons. And I love what you said about, because I feel I've really reached that stage as well, where I can really recognize people's motives, agendas and things. But most of the time, I'm not going to put my hand up and say all the time, not step into judgment mode, because you have to realize there's a reason why people are going through things that they're going through.
Right.
And, let's face it, we've all been through stuff in our own life and will continue to be so all the while we're here. And there'll be lessons that learned. And sometimes if you don't pick up on those lessons quick enough, the universe will make them more and more extreme for you.
Yeah, that's true. And so when you're talking about, reading signs and the omens in nature, and obviously you could study it any way that you want. You can actually pick it up by a book or just get into nature and study it. Sorry, I have a little doggy here. I don't know if you can hear their nails, but they're all walking across the floor here.
No, I can't hear them. Yeah, I've just got mine, so I'm actually on my own for once, although Pumpkin's down there. Yeah.
Sorry about that. So what I was basically saying is we never really truly separate ourselves from environment. We really never truly separate ourselves from anything unless there is something bad that's wanting to divide us, that is wanting to do that. And we could go there, but we don't have to. But it's just sitting outside and paying attention. So if you see a bunch of squirrels running around, right, what is that telling you? They're playing. Maybe I need to play. Or if I see a squirrel really working hard to bury its nuts or food or whatever, maybe I need to do, concentrate and do a little bit more work. There's so many different things that you can look at, and take a piece of paper and a pencil with you and journal it all out. And that is how you learn about yourself. But I know my animal totem is a red-tailed hawk. It has guided me and helped me so much. And I take a look at, where I'm at, I can see so many different types of birds out here, but I watch them. I watch them interact with the different breeds, right? And what is that telling you is like someone's protecting a nest, someone's trying to attack a nest. There's just everything that's going on in life is what's happening in nature.
I love it. And people, we seem to think that someone just said to me once, and it was just so apt. It's like, is it actually the problem, or is it just your response to the problem? Because there's day-to-day things that need doing. There's challenges that come up in any life. I mean, I was just saying this weekend, we had hideous weather in the UK this weekend. And I was like, I'm so grateful I'm a human in this life, because I could go in my nice warm house and, all the wild animals are stuck out here with, having to make their own shelter. They can't go along to the supermarket and buy their food. They've got to go and find their food, either forage or catch it. So that doesn't matter what species you are. There's real advantages of that. There's disadvantages, there's challenges, but it's how you look at it. And are you focusing on the downsides of things, or are you saying, oh, fantastic, this is something to teach me? Because I really, really, truly believe, with all the work that I do with animals, and you and I communicating with them, and everyone does, it's just how much you're aware of that. I never see an animal, a wild animal, sitting there thinking, oh my God, it's something, a Canadian goose. Now I've got to migrate all that way. I wish I could be a human and get in a car. That's just not their thought process. So I love the fact, nothing in life, if we were wanting just everything to be handed just on a plate, then we'd all be going down the AI route, and we'd all be sitting in our little pods, not moving, not doing anything, and it would just all be via virtual reality. And certainly for me, I don't want that. I love that feeling of satisfaction when you've been out working in the garden all day and you're achy and you're windblown and you're wet, but you feel that you've really achieved something.
Yeah.
I think sometimes in life, a lot of the problems that we all have are because, even though it might not seem it, we do have it too easy. There's a lot of evidence that a lot of people in a lot of parts of the world don't suffer from depression because they haven't got time to be depressed. Now, I'm not negating that there's loads of reasons that cause depression. That's not my point. It's just the fact that actually, it's like people like Wim Hof teach us, if you're not challenged in life, whether it's physically, emotionally, spiritually, it's not rewarding. There's something in our human psyche that needs challenges and feel that we've earned those rewards. Do you think?
I totally agree with that. And it's going back to remembering who we are. When we incarnated, when we came in, we were just a speck of light. And our lights are still there. Let me tell you, each one of you all are a beacon of light, no matter what you are doing. It's just some are a little bit brighter than others. And some just, we walked into the matrix to think that we are here to work and pay taxes and die. And that was it. And the honest truth of that's the furthest from it. I was reading something that before the 1600s, animals were never called animals. They were actually considered people, as we are people. And I think I can't remember who actually some philosopher or scholar decided to give them that name of their animals, right? I like the idea of calling them people too, because they truly are. Yeah. So, just looking and understanding wildlife and, in all that and energy, there's so much to it. And I kind of, my wish, if, to see these things taught in kindergarten, in preschool, understanding energy, and then understanding biology when you get a little bit older, and how that all ties into the energy. That is what I would love to see in the schools, things to be changed, if you will. All the people that we have had on our channels, I had Brad Olson on. I thought his books were esoteric. I think it was called Beyond Esoteric. Those books should be in certain schools, maybe not in the grade schools, but everyone who has written a wonderful book that talked about so many different things, whether it's earthly or off the world or whatever. I think it's time for us to start to put those into our school systems. Get rid of the administrations that are in there now, and everybody just focus more on natural things, because we are natural. We're part of the animal family.
Absolutely. I mean, I've always said that. I just say we're just not as cute as most of the others. And I'm absolutely gutted if anyone tells me I haven't come from a chimpanzee. I mean, they're my favorite things, monkeys and things. And I'd be very happy. I still dream that one day I'm going to grow a tail back, because I miss my tail. I know I'm joking about the whole evolution thing, but I'm sort of not, because somewhere on some planet I had a lovely tail, and it is just fantastic. And we wouldn't have any of these false emotions that people can fall, because I tell you what, you look at an animal with a tail, you can tell exactly whether they think you're a dickhead or not. So it would save us a lot of problems. And the other thing I love, Janine, and you and I living proof of this, is, you know, none of us are ever too late to have that childlike joy of rediscovering. You know, I'm over it, as a teenager would say. I don't know what teenagers say now, but I'm so over focusing on the fact that we've been lied to, the fact that we've been taught wrong. I'm just like so excited to be like, I can't wait to find out about all this. I can't wait to find out what the real map of the world's like. I can't wait to find out about how we reenact these beautiful dormant energies without ourselves. I can't wait to find out how I really use all of my junk DNA that we know is not junk DNA.
Yeah.
You know, the potentials are just so wonderful. And how boring would it be in life if we didn't have these things? And we know, you know, a child does what the parent does, not what they say. You know, a dog or a cat or a guinea pig or a wild animal, they pick up on your energy, not what you're saying to them. And this is what we all are doing, and we're really doing it really well. I mean, I'm proud of how far everyone's coming and how far they're really looking into these things. And I think we've gone through a lot of the time, particularly with you, the people that are in our little group of listeners and things, I can see how much all of us have evolved, because generally speaking, people have gone through a lot of the anger stage and the lashing out stage, and they're now into the next stage of, oh wow, what can we all achieve together, and appreciating the simple things in life as well. You know, wow, I mean, how much are we all appreciating the simple things in life, and the you know, I don't think there's many people that are sitting there sort of thinking, wow, these high-flying techies and corporate people, they're thinking how amazing these people that can teach the children a new way, that can grow their own food, that can teach you how to earth and ground yourself, that can teach you how to, you know, structure your water. I think their priorities are getting right back where they should be.
Yeah, it's all going to take time. I always say it's a process. A lot of people were hoping that there was a magic wand, and I heard it, and I seen it. I had the people on my channel, and I always thought, and that's when I started to pull back a little bit more and speaking more of my own truth, and then asking people what their opinions are. But to think that we could go from saying, you know, this is going to happen, to the next day living in total bliss, to me, they're very people were being deceived by that. Everything is a process, no matter what country that you're in. Everything there has to break down so you can build it back up again, build a foundation up again. I think that's what we are doing. And I talk about things, you know, like these flowers here. These are roses, and so if you keep these in your house as a symbol or symbolic quality of a flower or a tree or whatever it is, you know, the roses is just love, strength through silent and passion. And, you know, this is what I'm saying. A lot of people may have a lot of things in their home right now that are representation of who they are, and may not even know it. They just know that they're attracted to it, right? And that's great. That's great.
Chicken.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I can't even pretend these things are for my children anymore, Janine. They're definitely for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, is that you have things in your house that represent who you are. And in a lot of people, you know, may not even know why, but they just know that you don't even have to know why for a lot of things. It's just that it brings you joy. And that's what we're trying to get back to, is finding the joy. And, you know, we've been talking about it's going to be a really bumpy road. Well, life is a bumpy road, but we're all going to get through this. And you really have to really find your faith within yourself and understanding, and not let anything outside of you that is negative tell you that the world is going to end tomorrow. Like the little chickens run around, you know, the sky is falling, right? If you want to believe that, that's great. You know, you'll find a group of people that you will attract, or you'll find that group. But if you just know that everything is going to be okay, and we are here, and we're put here for a reason, and just follow your own intuition, your own truth, you're going to be okay in the long run. And I'm seeing that. I am totally seeing. I see this every single day, and it's one of those things that, why doesn't anybody else see it, right? It's no different, Catherine, than when we were talking, like, we were talking in the early days. Why can't people see what we see, or, you know, how can they not see it? And that comes from a level of consciousness. And everyone's saying, I'm trying to wake up everyone. You don't need to do that. They need to do it on your own. When you raise your vibration, they raise their vibration. It is the one of the laws, right? It's one of the laws that happens. You can't live in a family and not have somebody's vibration so low that they're not going to pick up on something about what you are doing or saying or feeling. It's enough to maybe just jumpstart them to get into their own questioning of see what's going on around them. And that's all that we're asking everybody to do is to just be awake, and awaken to your God or goddess, awaken to whatever it might be.
I absolutely love it. And I'm so grateful for the people in my life that you and, you know, some of my other impersonal friends and, online friends, because I haven't met many of them really.
My husband always says to me, are you talking to your internet friend?
I know, exactly. Is it a real friend or not? And it is quite funny. It's like, yeah, what can we do to prove we're not robots? But I'm really grateful for it, because I'm so grateful for the things that I don't know, and putting it, you're so right, in putting it into practice. You know, people that have got that peace and trust and connection and know where to go to ask for help, they radiate a different energy, and that's why animals are attracted to them, that's why other people are attracted to them. And there's nothing wrong, but no one stays in that state all the time. No. You know, everyone's still going to sleep, and there's nothing wrong that when you're, you know, like there's a couple of people that I've seen recently reach out and ask to help, and I just think it's such a beautiful thing to do, because when you need, you know, we can give when our cup is full, but when our cup's nearly empty, there's nothing wrong with receiving as well. It's got to be a balance, as you said, the yin and yang, because everything in life is a balance, and there'll be times when you're over to give more, and there'll be times when you need to receive and accept as well. And I think I'm loving seeing that vulnerability more in people coming out. And, you know, I think a lot of people are knowing it's okay to say when you're not okay, and to ask for that extra time or help or support without going too far the other way of like things.
Yeah, you know, the thing is that if you could journey out on your own, and then you come across some friends that can help you, and then that's what it's all there for. These friends may or may not be, they might be in the right space and time as you are. You may grow further, they may grow, but if you just, you know, they were brought there for that particular incident. And a lot of people have to understand, when we incarnate, before we incarnate, I don't call them contracts. People call them, say that they're agreements. And I say, well, I'll say, Catherine, in the year 2022, I would like to meet up with you again, because we've, you know, come back around, and we'll have a social media site, and we'll talk a little bit about things to help humanity. And you would say, that's fantastic. And you'll say, I'll be on the other side of the world. And I'll say, that's okay. We'll have the technology in place. And then all of a sudden, and you know, I don't hear from you for a while, and I'm okay with that. But we go on our journey of doing what we have to do. And then other people will come in and go out. And that's just the way that it is. And these are agreements that we have with a lot of people, even the agreements for people to teach us a lesson, even though we may not like that. But it's all spiritual, no matter how you look at it.
I just love all that. And I'm laughing because there's quite a few lessons that I would love to talk about, but I probably won't today on YouTube, because I'm laughing because I can see where I was slow to get the lessons, and then they got bigger lessons and bigger lessons and bigger lessons. And when I realized that, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I could have listened to that a year ago and learned it. I chose not to, and therefore you did the right thing by pushing it and pushing it until I had to. And you know, again, I think having a sense of humor in it, or realizing hindsight is a wonderful thing. And the difference is do you look back in hindsight and then take that forward into your understanding? And I am very clear now that when I don't listen to certain messages, it's going to get louder until I'm forced to listen. So it's definitely in my best interest to listen earlier on in the process. But if not, there's a reason for it. I'll have just perhaps learnt more along the way in that particular journey. I have got a lot better, Janine, actually. Something I really, really struggled with all my life is letting go of relationships. And I really feel I've got so much better on that over the last year. I really feel I can see that not in a hurtful way or a hurtful way, and in terms of what's right for both, whether it's not just people, you know, both beings, or situations, or even, you know, there's a lot of people that, you know when it's time to let go of their house, or they know when it's time to even just give out an old bit of furniture, pass it on to someone else that, you know, your grandmother might have given you. It can be all sorts of things, not just people. But once you've learned that lesson, that's been a huge help to me.
Yeah, Catherine, I like to look at it more, not a lesson, but remembering, because we've all done this so many times in our life. And it's almost as I was well aware of karma when I was a little kid, not even knowing what it was. But I always, if I have astrology done and numerology, it always comes back to I was here to learn about relationships on different levels, on many different levels. So I was always conscious of the karma. I never wanted to create karma, or if there was karma, I always tried to fix it. When I was younger, I could tell you I was probably the one creating the karma, and I would go back, you know, just to make sure that the relationships were healed between us. As I have gotten older, I try to stay away and shy away from those lessons, if you will, or just, you know, just try to be more conscious of making decisions. We all have free will, and we could all go into understanding these life lessons, if you will. But it's also it's also very healing to know that we are always trying to correct something that isn't correct, and that is from our heart, right? And so if we open up our heart chakra every time that we go to make a decision, so a lot of us are stuck in our head, and I call it the hamster wheel, with the thoughts, the programming, the negativity. But if you kind of slow that down a little bit, and this is going to sound funny, but you actually will make room for your heart and to bring your heart up into your mind, so that you can make better decisions and choices and not buy into drama, if you will. There's enough drama outside of us. We don't need to create more drama for us. And I tell people this all the time. The world is tough, and the world will beat up on us. We don't need to beat up on ourselves. So if we just learn to go within our own heart chakra and understanding, working from a love perspective, but doing it from a perspective that's healthy for you and for other people too. Because a lot of times, spiritual people, if you will always say, well, I'm afraid to hurt someone, or afraid to do this. But you also have to take into consideration that it's healthy for you. Just because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, are you giving away some of your power? Are you leaking energy to that person? There's a lot to understand with energy and exchanging energy between other humans. And if you're constantly being a doormat to somebody, that's not helping you whatsoever, but it's sure making somebody else feel a lot better about themselves.
Absolutely. And even like the perfect example of the hamster wheel is a completely man-made thing. It's a completely man-made invention.
Yes.
Just ignore the lights outside. My husband's filling up all the bird feeders in the dark. It's one of his tasks that he knows he has to do when he gets back from work. So a hamster wheel. So we talk about getting on the hamster wheel, and it is true, but humans made the bloody hamster wheel. A hamster in the wild doesn't jump on a wheel and keep going round and round. A hamster in the wild goes off and does its business. But we've even made the hamster wheel for the poor hamster. And this is what I know this, I'm not putting this across really well, but it's such a good example of how so many of the issues we have are purely in our head. And
It's programming. If, like I said earlier, if you want to consider us like computers, it's the programming. We need time to change that programming because it's no longer serves you or serves anybody else. And what is that program? And it's the lower vibrational things. I'm no good. I'm fat. I'm, ugly, these type of things. But if you just, it's so funny because when I look back at the time I thought I was fat, I was not fat. But I told myself that, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
It's like,
unbelievable. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And, at the times I thought that my hair wasn't really nice. And I look back at these old pictures and go, oh my God, I had long, beautiful hair. The programming that if you were able to see that now and hear that now, what are you going to do to change it? And then it's just basically telling yourself how beautiful you are, looking into the mirror, and it's just recognizing your beauty no matter what age that you are, and just knowing that you're a beacon of light. And it's practice. It's going to take practice for a lot of people to do that. And I'm currently working on that for younger people right now because of all the matrix bullshit that is out there and everything that they were told to do. The kids in college, the things that they were taught, all superficial stuff. If we could just go back to the basics, and that could be the basics on any level, that's what I want to teach these younger kids.
Absolutely. I mean, I've just read a really beautiful book, Mutant Messages Down Under, and it's about a woman who goes,
I love that book.
I love it. And there's so much controversy about whether it's true or not. My friend Danielle introduced it to me and I absolutely loved it. I just couldn't put it down. There's so many beautiful messages. And for me, I don't care whether she really went out and did it, because the wisdom shared in there is so beautiful. But the thing is she was supposedly out there, or whether that's channeled or whether she really did it, for 4 months with no mirror, and it changed everything about herself, everything. Because animals don't go and look at themselves in the mirror the whole time and adjust their hair and put that lippy on, and it's absolutely hysterical, and it's a really hard one to break. But as you say, when you and I grew up, Janine, we were lucky that we didn't have digital cameras and things,
right?
So not everything was recorded on camera. And now it's just like in people's face the whole time. And then, of course, there's filters. Thank God I don't know how to use a filter, because there's addiction. And so there's so many more pressures on people now. But that book is just so beautiful, isn't it? In so many different ways. It's one of the ones I'm going to do for one of my book clubs, because I just love it. It
is a good book. I bought it. I think I owned it and I read it, and then I misplaced it, and then I bought it again. Gosh, it's so funny because I am going back and rereading the books from the 90s. Those were the really good helps, and people said they were all
amazing.
Yeah, you're not going to find any authors like that. Just like the one I'm reading, Animal Speaks with Ted Andrew. I'm doing a little series on that one, just picking out things. And I'm maybe one day we'll incorporate the chakras into the animals and stuff like that, come up with my own class. I'm being pulled to do a lot more teaching right now, and I love it. I truly do love it. I think I'm ready for it. The Akashic record classes have blown me away, and each and every one of them are so different. It depends on who's in it. Right. And that's how I'm being guided to teach the class. And that's true about any type of a classroom, but the energies are just, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful energy to be in. And so, this is what's needed right now. And I know that there's been a lot of people out there that will go to the psychics and all this other stuff. What I say to them is, you could do it too. You don't have to go to anything outside of yourself. That, if you want to learn, I don't know, tarot, you pick up a deck of cards and you learn it, and you teach yourself about it. Everything has an archetype to it if you really understand it. And so that's all you're doing is working with archetypal cards, right? And there's archetypes that I read when I do a consultation. They come to me, and that's how spirit talks to me, because I see things in pictures. Everybody has the ability to do this. They just need to realize that they have it and just let it blossom.
I agree. I love that. I used to do a lot of teaching, sort of in-person teaching, and online teaching before this all happened. And then now I've still got my academy with some courses on there, which I love, but I've got so many more I really need to free up time to do, because like the animal communication, I'm desperate to do that, because it's like you said, we're all just animals. So when you learn to really tune in, it doesn't, I mean, really it should be interspecies, because you can do the same with a plant, with a tree, with a cat, with another human. It improves your communication with everything and anything around you. And what I love, I agree with you, the beauty of when you run these classes is the fact that the participants, they're also amazing, and they all bring their own little quirks and things to it, and their own ways of doing things, and the energy just really builds. I absolutely love it. And I every time I do that, I'm completely blown away by the range of skills of the participants and how much everyone has to offer.
Yeah, and you know, not only that too, we need to go back to the indigenous teachings, right? We're understanding the directions, the characteristics, the energies of the directions, you know, all this stuff. You see people with sage and stuff like that, but there's a whole ritual to that. You just don't burn the sage. You have to understand and give blessings and thanks, you know, to all the elements and everything like that. There's so much to it. I love Native American teaching. And I've always loved it. Whether or not I have that in me or if I have done that in me, it doesn't matter. But at this time in my life, I love just all the esoterics, metaphysical stuff. And I figured I've been here so long on this planet and I've come back all the time. I probably have done this many, many times because I remembered very young. I was remembering things. You don't take a 9-year-old girl and the first thing I started to do was, what is a horoscope? I call it horoscope. It was, what is astrology? What's my horoscope? And then I took it for that, and then so on and so forth. But I had to hide that I was teaching myself all this stuff because it was shunned upon, you know. It was almost like a witch hunt, as they talk about today. But yeah, you couldn't integrate that into the matrix mindset whatsoever. So I did both. And I always thought that was interesting how I would run off and learn about, you know, one particular thing, and then go back to take my time off, like take vacations and go learn, I don't know, essential oils or anything that it was that I needed to learn. And then I would go back to the corporate world, and I kept doing that until finally one day I said, I can't be in the corporate world anymore. I got pushed out of the corporate world very quickly.
Yeah, exactly the same with me. And I've just never been, there's not a year that I've not just been expanding my knowledge. And the other thing that's really beautiful when you look at the connections. So, you know, I found out recently that one of my aunts, or would it be great aunt, was, you know, really into numerology and astrology. And then at the start of the lockdown, I connected in with like a second cousin who's in Australia. Hi, you know who you are, you're gorgeous. And when we started, we'd never have connected in if it wasn't for the lockdown. And then somehow we connected on Facebook and Susanna, and we just got so much in common, and we've never met in person. But when you look back, there were all these people, as you say, in our ancestry that had all these skills and this knowledge. But at that stage, it was very much hidden. I mean, I can remember a few years ago before my dad died, you know, one Christmas, I gave my whole family different crystals and then little explanations of which ones. And most of the family were like, oh, thanks a lot. I weren't vision. But my dad was like, oh, I've done a whole course on crystal healing. But none of us knew, not even my mum.
Yeah.
Because he hadn't spoken about it. And he was really into shamanic teaching. And that was something we were going to study together before he died. And unfortunately never did. But it's beautiful, all these things coming back out, and it's something that I'm really, really drawn to, and connecting in with a lot of people in that area again, that, you know, which I did sort of 25 years ago and now really drawn to. And yeah, it's a beautiful time, I think, isn't it? There's so much to be looking forward to, there really is. And it's like when anyone sees a great big oak tree, they appreciate the wrinkles, the rings, the strength, the beauty, the wisdom. And I think that's the stage we're getting back to now, where there's a reason why in a lot of, you know, sort of in the past, a lot of elders were really respected, because you're moving in, every stage of life is different. And, you know, you're not, there's a reason why you don't think and act, hopefully, like a teenager when you're in your 60s and 50s, sort of thing. Moving into these different stages of life and appreciating them is really lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get a lot more confidence when you get older too. So what I tried to do when I was younger, I was trying to do it without having the full self-esteem there. I had to work on that. But yeah, it's interesting that you talk about your father. As I had mentioned about my father kind of knew I was into this stuff. And then he had said to me, my mother knew things. And I was like, what? I'd never met her. She died I think when he was young, but he always talked about his mother as if it was yesterday. He was the oldest, had the fondest memories of her. I'm like, what do you mean your mother knew stuff? He's just like, well, people would say that she was psychic, but we didn't talk like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, well, that could have been where I've gotten it. Who knows? But everybody has it, and I just think that once people start embracing and truly loving themselves, and that's all that they have to do is really go in with deep, and all that stuff that you're telling yourself is part of your ego. You ease God out, and so sometimes it's easier for us to go to the lower energies than it is to embrace. And one of the things I am finding out when I'm doing consultations or teaching in my classes, a lot of people are holding on to stuff that wasn't even their stuff to hold on to. Let's just
Yeah.
say, for example, they got it from a parent or somebody else, or when you're a little kid and you're psychic, and everybody is, you will take on things to help a parent, right? You will take on things, and sometimes we just don't let go of that for whatever reason it is. And those are the type of things that we have to take a look at. Was this my stuff, or did I create this? Or all that I could say to anyone is, if it's not serving you anymore, why are you carrying it around? Why is it holding you down? What are you waiting on? It's WAIT, not WEIGHT, right? Those are the type of things that once we let go of all that stuff, we free ourselves. And that's what true freedom is. All I can say is all these Americans out there that think that they're free, they've never been free. We've been more enslaved than any other country.
It's comical, isn't it? And I don't mean that nastily, but that this is one of the things that the last few years have shown is all the countries that we thought, look at Switzerland, look at Canada, look at Australia. It's ironic, isn't it, actually, about how it's all been turned on its head. But the thing is once you recognize it, it's fantastic, because then you're empowered to do something about it. And the thing is, isn't it part of human nature very often that quite often you need to know what you don't want before you can shift it into what you do? So it's all part of the greater plan for the good. And I feel really confident, despite anything that might be going on as a distraction. The way I look at it, Janine, is in the tsunamis, the animals ran for the hills way before the humans realized what was happening. And at the moment, I'm not seeing any animals around here running for the hills. So that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's interesting that if people do pay attention to the nature and what they all think is going to happen, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because if you have a faith and you believe in that faith, and if it's strong enough, you're going to be okay, no matter what, and be prepared. So if you hear something, say something, what have you. But it's so funny. I'm watching my dogs as we're having this conversation. They're very happy. They're just like all sitting around me right now. And I just adore everything about understanding energy and animals, and if people will. I've got a little dog that's 3 years old now. He's a little Westie. When I go in to watch TV, and that's my time to just go into my own little world and turn on something, on YouTube, he'll come and sit down and he'll watch me. And it's funny, because when my face starts changing with information that's on the TV, his face changes. He is observing me, and so intensely, I just think, oh my God, were you human before?
Yeah, oh, definitely, absolutely. Our little dogs they like cock their heads at really interesting things, and they're literally, oh, what did I do the other day? I had the funniest thing. As I was talking to a friend, and we were saying something human to human, and then the animal just answered completely. I was at my friend Carol's house, and we were talking about something about the cat, and then the cat just basically got off and did something which shows it was completely involved in the conversation. It's difficult to explain without being there, but you could not have reacted like that if it didn't understand every word we were saying. It was absolutely priceless. But yeah,
I totally understand that. I had a German Shepherd, And this was years ago. And if I look over on the floor and I look over at something, I see it, I'm like, what is it? A piece of paper? Or what is it on the floor? My dog sitting next to me would get up and go check it out. I'm like, telepathic?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Oh, I've loved this chat. We must do it again soon. Absolutely love it. Now, tell people, obviously the links will be below, but where's the best place for people to go? Go to your website, and all your links are on there, aren't they?
Yeah, see, so right now I got everything going to my website. I have subscriptions for free subscriptions to watch me just talk, and then I have my interviews, another subscription. I've got all my classes, everything. I've taken my power back and I created all the stuff instead of giving it to YouTube and everybody else, but you could just come to turnthepage.social. And there's, like I said, there's consultations, some classes out there, there's more to come. And that's the best place for me to focus everything. And at some point in time, I'll be doing more Telegram channels. I do have Telegram and I do have a Rumble out there. YouTube, I've been pegged so bad that they really don't let me. I can't even upload a video at this time. So they took my channel down. It is gone. But I've got other backup channels, but they know who I am, anything that's tied to it. So I just really don't push YouTube as much, but you can find me definitely on Rumble or turnthepage.social.
Fantastic. Well, let's do this again soon. It's been so nice to catch up, have a good chat, put the worlds to right, and say where we're both at. I hope anyone that's watched this has enjoyed it as much as we have. Really good luck with the move. And then let's connect in again, perhaps, when you're all settled in your lovely new home.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate the invite, and blessings to you, Catherine. It's been way too long, but I'm glad that we finally did it and got together. Thank you so much.
Lots of love. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. My goal is to inspire as many people as I can to live their best lives, to stay curious, and to raise their consciousness and that of the collective. So to do this, I need to reach as many people as possible, and this needs your help. If you feel drawn, would you be willing to share your favourite episode with 5 different people? This helps us spread the word and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. If you feel drawn to do that, I will be very, very grateful. All the links and discount codes where applicable for all the products that I support are on my 2 websites, catherineedwards.life and catherineedwardsacademy.com. All of the products are personally tried and tested by me, my family, and my clients. And finally, please do press the follow or subscribe button, depending which platform you're listening on. And above all, stay curious and stay free.